want to talk about this thing where certain pundits like Ramsey Paul, Sticks X and Hammer, and others are acting surprised that people on the far right would be anti-capitalist. Like, oh my God, where is this coming from? Well, speaking for TRS, what I can tell you is that early on in the beginning days of our sort of social group, which was originally based on Facebook, migrated through various other iterations, but very early on there was a form of dialectics about capitalism and specifically about arranging your society around libertarian property norms and essentially creating a system that puts economics at the forefront. And people that gravitated into this type of group, into TRS, had problems with this. And I was one of these people. Very early on in my political trajectory, I realized that there were issues that libertarianism was not particularly good at handling, and these were fundamental things, extremely fundamental things, like age of consent. In fact, years ago, I even had a thought experiment, a kind of a gruesome one, in which the ideal was that under libertarian property norms, you could have a child molestation water park. And then observing stuff around like the Free State Project, where you actually saw that kind of thing happening, where libertarians would make these arguments, unironically, make arguments for lowering the age of consent so that they could engage in pedophilia. I mean, that to me indicates a serious, serious problem with your ideology if you can't even deal with basic questions about age of consent and you can't even agree on how to combat something like pedophilia. So, very early on in this kind of political trajectory, and I'm speaking about TRS specifically, and my groups of friends within that, uh, we determined that the libertarian stuff was just not the best way to organize a society or a civilization. And over time, the anti-capitalist rhetoric has been, I would say, refined. We've gotten a little bit more sophisticated about it, but you need to understand that this has always been the case. Like, we're not libertarians. We don't think that the market should be how you organize a government. We think that the market should serve the state, serve the people, not the other way around. So this is not some sort of new formulation here. Like, this has been part of what we've been doing the entire time. So I'm just kind of surprised whenever I see people act as if this is something new. Um, I think there's also another issue where some of these pundits are they're still essentially operating off of this paradigm that places capitalist realism at the top and sees everything through that materialistic lens of just pragmatically kind of evaluating what would make the most sense economically and how to operate incentives to work around this. And that worldview is flawed. It's deeply flawed. There's lots of problems with that. It's never been enough to accomplish what we would want in terms of a world that human beings would like to live in. But so those are kind of my thoughts here. Is that the anti-capitalist streak that I'm seeing certain people complain about? It's been there all along. It's part of what we're trying to do here. It's part of our critique of the current modern system of neoliberalism, of the globalist uh, paradigm of capitalist realism itself, etc. Like, this is something we feel very strongly about. We've always had this stance. Anyway, peace out or something. I don't know.